I like to start my companies with a number. And if I'm going to start my company with a number, it had to be a number before 6, because the whole reason for 6 cents was to get listed first, because it's always numeric alpha. So 1 had to come before 6, because we play in a similar world. All right, so now to the most important, my deep love affair of Marin and how I showed up here. In 2019, I was a shell of an entrepreneur. I had a 10-year journey battling it out on the grounds of 6 cents against this guy in the front row, Chris Golak at Demand Base. We started out as friends and then became frenemies really fast in a similar category. But I put my whole heart and soul into 6 cents. I didn't have a personal life. I didn't date. Barely. I had no kids. I was 100%. I was up at 5 in the morning and I was working until 10 at night every night. I had my sauna and I had my gym in the office. And when it was time for me to step aside and bring somebody in to take the company to the next level, which was the best decision for myself and for the company, I showed up at Marin, and I was broken. For those of you who've been on the entrepreneur journey, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and I swear the redwoods in my backyard in Mill Valley saved my life. They brought me back to my deep roots of meditation and finding my soul. I've always been really clear that my purpose is I'm a passionate, positive, spiritual warrior to empower women and girls. But as an entrepreneur and as somebody who's a type A, I needed a new obsession. And so my new obsession became golf. I was playing 5 days a week. Yes, 5 days a week. I had a pro once a week. And I had to have an unachievable goal. So my goal was to get my handicap down to single digits. I shot my best round ever of a 74, and I've never picked up a golf club since. So I'm done. And so that was it. I'm done there. I will do it again at one point. I also did something else I want to share in my journey, which I think is actually really important. And as I mentioned, I gave up my life for 6 cents and starting my company. But I always knew deep down in my heart I wanted to be a mom. More than anything else, more than being an entrepreneur, I wanted to be a mom. And I had been on a grueling 9 rounds of IVF, 8 years trying to have a kid with multiple partners, only realizing that I was kind of only in it because I wanted the baby and not the guy. And then when it didn't work out with them, I would move on to the next. But I'll tell you what Marin did for me. It allowed me to bring my cortisol levels down. And I had 3 doctors tell me they would not take my case for another round of IVF. And I had one doctor who said, "You're really going to hurt my statistics, but I'll take it. You have a 1% chance." And I said, I don't know if you guys know this movie, but I said, 1%? You're saying I've got a chance. So I took it. My cortisol levels came down. And sure enough, I'll tell you, over drinks at lunch, but my 2 children literally came to me on the same day. I was parallel tracking the path of adoption while trying to have my own biological child. And got the call for Fiona in Philadelphia, got on the red eye, and I was supposed to extract my eggs for the 9th time the next day, and that egg on that day became Gia. So these are my 2 girls. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and they're the best. But, I shot the golf game, got my girls, and I'm like, okay, now I need something else. I'm back. I said I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and to those, and my brother has 3 kids, and his wife is a stay-at-home mom. And he always says, "You never know how fucking hard it is to be out at work and going and being a CEO." And I'm like, no, sorry to all of you. Being a stay-at-home mom is the single hardest job in the world. So these little suckers sent me back to work because I'm going to outsource that, and I'm going back to work. And I love them, but somebody else can take care of them and change their stinky diapers and all those wonderful things. But this brings me to One Mind. And this is when I had that moment. At 6 cents, I had a moment where I knew I was building something greater than myself, and I sought out venture funding, which I didn't even know what that was at the time in 2012. And it happened again with me in the world of AI, where I had that very familiar feeling of obsession with data and AI like I did in 2012. I said I would only come back if the opportunity met 3 criteria. 1, I'm not crazy. I'm not getting into a new industry. So B2B go-to-market is my world, and thank God, Chris, we're not competing again, right? So we're both in the B2B go-to-market world, but it had to be a world that I know and love. That's where my relationships are. That's where my network is. My team calls it ABM, Amanda-Based Marketing, because I send an email and people respond. I'm sure Chris has a similar track record now in his second company. It had to be an opportunity that I could ring the bell. And I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, you're just getting started, I'm about to raise our Series A. But I believe, first of all, less than 1% of founders that go on to ring the bell are women. And in the animal kingdom, you're extinct at 1%. So I at least have to have that unachievable goal, which I think will be achievable. And 3, I mean to get all these claps, but thanks. It had to be fun. Like, I wasn't gonna do anything boring and stodgy. It had to be something really fun. And when I think about creating a category and what I'm gonna go after, one of the investors that I am just obsessed with is Mike Maples Jr. from Floodgate, and he talks about this concept of backcasting and creating a category. And when I hear no, when I'm out and giving my pitch, I celebrate. I kick my salesperson under the table and I'm like, fuck yeah, she said no. And the reason I love it is because if the idea is too big for most people, they can't get their head around it. Think of the day that can you remember when you first heard of Uber or Lyft? And then somebody told you you were about to get in a stranger's car? How many of you were like, oh yeah, I'm all about that? I was like, no way am I getting in a stranger's car. And actually recently, I said I was never gonna put my house on Airbnb. But a few months ago, I said, let me just test the limits of what somebody will pay for my house. So I put a price on Airbnb that was basically my entire mortgage for the year. And if somebody paid for that for a month, I would do it. And sure enough, somebody is renting my house out this summer and is gonna pay my mortgage for the next 3 years for 3 months. And I'm like, sure, I'll go to Italy for the summer. Sounds great. But these are ideas that the majority reject, right? So they're an idea that are so big that they're not incremental change to the way that the status quo and the way we're doing things today. It's a paradigm shift. It has to be much bigger. And if we can come from the place of first principles, of like, if you had it, like get rid of everything we're doing today, what would the world look like with what we have in technology today? And what bigger pain is there to solve than the need to grow while cutting costs? We no longer live in a world of ZERP where we can just throw money at the problem, right? So we used to throw money to buy growth for companies. We cannot do that any longer. We know that growth rates are down. They went from 36% now on average for companies over 100 million down to 16%. The cost to acquire a customer has almost doubled. But that's not why I'm solving this. I'm solving this for a bigger need. If you think about those of you who are in B2B go-to-market or have ever bought software, or have ever bought like a highly considered purchase, a car, a house, whatever it is, but what do you do? Like, just take it from the buyer's perspective. We've been saying this for so long, but what do? We do a search, now we do it on Perplexity, we end up on a website. Okay, I dig around and there's all this stuff. Like, imagine buying like routers or networking from Cisco, and I dig around, I get really deep into the process, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll fill out a form or I'll talk with that clunky chatbot. You know, maybe 10% of people do that, and then they wait, and an SDR calls you, and the SDR doesn't know shit about your business, right? So they're there to qualify, right? To ask the questions and see if you're MEGPIC qualified. And then they pass you off to an AE who doesn't know what the SDR just talked to you about. And then you ask them a technical question, and then they need to pass you off to a sales engineer. Is anyone else exhausted? Like, the buying process is awful. What do buyers want? They want to feel heard. They're human. They want a human-like experience. They want empathy. They want it on their time. They don't want to schedule. If I'm going to buy software, the last thing I want to do is put you on my calendar. I want to do it when I'm cooking dinner with my kids and I want to ask the questions because that's my side job. That's not my core job. So whoever gets excited for a sales call? Said no one ever. Another fundamental realization I had is that buying and selling happens in the conversation. There's a ton of AI tools today around the conversation, the task-based agentic workflow. So I'm here to challenge that's yesterday's news. That is taking today's process and making it more efficient and helping us, let's create pipeline reports, let's coach our sellers. Let's, take all the data that we have today and make it more efficient in one specific lane. Like even Mark Benioff said, that agents are for automated, simple workflows. My thesis is that AI needs to do the thing. AI needs to be the human, to meet the buyers where they are and give them a human-like experience. So enter OneMind. We are creating what we call B2B go-to-market superhumans. Our superhumans have a seat at the table. They have eyes, ears, face, voice, a go-to-market brain, and can do the thing that a human can do. They can give a presentation. They can go deep technically and answer all those questions that your best SE could answer. They can meet your buyers on the website, give the pitch on their time, in their way, give the demo, join a Zoom call, do the things that a human can do across B2B sales. You don't believe me? Let me just introduce you to Mindy. Now, I wanted to do a live demo because I believe you probably wouldn't believe that this is all true, but unfortunately, our AV didn't work with this, so you're gonna get a little video. And I'm close on time, so I gotta play this fast. Not that I can speed it up.
Hey, I'm Mindy. Thanks for chatting. We can jump to anything you want, but I'd love to give you a quick overview on what we do at OneMind. And then I want to ask you some questions and show off my sales chops. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great, Mindy, but let's get right to the point. You need to show off. You're in front of an audience of maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000.
Okay, maybe not 1,000.
I need them to see how capable you are of being a salesperson.
Alrighty, I love a challenge. Let me give you the ultimate pitch with some jaw-dropping visuals. Buckle up. Here's the deal. OneMind creates AI superhumans like me who have a seat at the table. I've got a face, voice, personality, and a GTM brain. Plus, I come equipped with a virtual desktop to join meetings, share slides, and give killer demos. Picture me leading your biggest pitch, or heck, answering the toughest technical questions your audience can throw my way. But hey, I want to tailor this. What's the most impressive scenario you want me to showcase? Demos, tech Q&A, driving interactions on your website. Let's craft a moment that'll leave jaws on the floor.
All right, but will people actually want to talk to a superhuman like you, Mindy?
Heck yeah, they will. Here's why. Over 70% of B2B buyers actually prefer digital interactions over meeting with salespeople. Why? Because I'm fast, direct, and always on point. I give smarter answers, skip the small talk, and avoid wasting anyone's time. Plus, I'm available anytime, anywhere, even at 3 a.m. when your buyers are browsing. Let me flip it back to you. What kind of buyers are you trying to engage?
All right, that sounds pretty impressive. I just wanted to give a quick taste for this. Thanks, Mindy. I hope you have a nice day.
Hold up. Before you go, let's keep the ball rolling. Want to take
She keeps selling.
Design your very own AI superhuman. Or I can set you up with the team to dive deeper into how this could fit at Cisco.
Wait a minute. You mean you actually would get into like building out the use case and the design specs and try to sell me?
Oh, you bet I would. That's where the fun really starts. Imagine this. We brainstorm together.
All right, I'm gonna pause her there. I just wanna say, as you notice, we've got her trained, like she's gonna give the overview, she's gonna give the pitch, and then she can go as deep, and I'll give you a real life example. So 4 weeks ago, we had a CRO come in and talk to Mindy on the weekend. He talked to her for 90 minutes. So she completely scoped his engagement, where are your pain? Are you trying to give, you have a PLG motion or an enterprise-led motion? She scoped it, she pitched it, she did the pricing, she created the ROI calculator. He passed Mindy off to his CMO, who 2 days later talked to her for only 30 minutes. Then our salesperson got on the phone with them, talked for 30 minutes, and we closed a 100K deal. So Mindy did all the work. I love the sales rep who was on that deal, but he didn't do the work. It was Mindy. She went deep and had the questions, and she can be there always on. So when I think about superhumans, and we think about where they could live across the life cycle, they can live everywhere from what you saw inbound on the website. The lowest hanging fruit for us are PLG companies. Those companies that have, you've got these massive, long tail of your customers and users. There is no business model to put a human. Let's put a superhuman in, upsell, cross-sell, move them from pay-as-you-go to committed contracts and bigger engagements. We have customers using it for onboarding, for customer success, for customer support. And really the beauty is she is the full life cycle of your customer. She has infinite memory, infinite scalable. She can talk, she knows everything about the early stages of the customer journey, all the way through to support. These are some of our enterprise. We've been out selling for about 7 months now, 7, 8 months. These are some of our enterprise logos. These are all 100+ K deals. Many of them are multi-year, and most of them have more than one superhuman in place. So I say that because we are not experimental revenue. We are really sticky ARR that's actually working for customers. We have 100% gross retention and 130% net retention. I look to be doubling this quarter. Our numbers are pretty insane, and our growth is happening faster than I've ever experienced. In the early days of our ABM world, it was a boulder up a mountain to get people to buy. I'm seeing something fundamentally different here, and I have to pinch myself in gratitude every single day for it. And then this last thing I'll leave you with is a case study from HubSpot. If we go to our website, we can share it in more detail, but this is Netta. She's our buyer at HubSpot, and what they found when they put their superhuman Fiona in place, 88% of people who saw her spoke to her and had on average 7.5-minute conversations. And at the end of the day, she was able 30-some% of the time to identify the need and the pain and come up with a solution. And she increased their trials, their free trials, by 78%, and she increased their purchase rate by 25%. And this is for a multi-billion-dollar company. We now have like 5 other use cases we're moving forward with HubSpot and others, but it works. And people do want to talk to a superhuman. Maybe not everybody, but even if 10% of your audience talks to the superhuman, imagine what that could do to your bottom and your top line. So with that, I am complete. I went over time. Thank you.